Hey everybody, so Mike is just running to go grab the sign-in sheet, but I'm going to start anyway. So soon you'll have a sheet going around, and just put your name, and I think the other thing you put on it is your class, whether you're a 2L, or whether you will be a 2L, whether you'll be a 3L. Does that make sense? Okay. So, thanks for coming. This is the meeting where we're going to discuss the details of the write-on competition for next year. And to begin with, we just want to make sure you understand that the due date will be June 1st. So that'll be a question you'll be having this whole time if I didn't tell you now. The day that these will have to be turned in will be 11:59 p.m. on June 1st, and there are no exceptions to that. Okay, so people call it the write-on, they call it the development. The point is, we'll use the term the development, and that's essentially the 10-page-ish paper that you'll be writing to Here comes the sign-in sheets. I just barely. Oh yeah.
Hey everybody, hello and welcome to the meeting. I'm going to pass around these sign-in sheets. Please sign your name and indicate whether you're a rising 2L or a rising 3L. We're going to introduce ourselves first. I'm Mike, I'm the managing editor. Introduce yourself.
I'm Rich, I'm the associate managing editor.
Rich is going to be your point of contact for almost the entire process. Over here, this is Jen.
Hi everyone, I'm the editor-in-chief.
And Elena.
Hi, I'm the executive articles editor.
So keep an eye out for us. You can ask us questions, but you should really ask Rich most of your questions. Also, now you know who to avoid because you cannot tell anybody about your topic, but you especially cannot talk to us about your topic.
Okay.
Keep that in mind.
So we'll talk about that too as we get going. So, but the focus today will be to discuss the development in terms of topic selection, structure, footnotes, deadlines, and any other questions you guys might have at the end. So, the way we do this is we do it through Twen. And actually this would be great if you if you have a computer in front of you right now, what I would do is go to your Twen page and add, it looks like this, it says 2018, 2019, I'll have my name on it, add that right on page. Oh, is it? So I'm going to show you what it looks like. When you get there, the front page should look like this. I guess I can, if I go to here. Yeah, okay. So go add, it says this, tell RV right on full year 2018, 2019. Anybody finding it? Everyone good? You got it? Okay, so it exists?
Yes.
Okay. So feel free to add that because on it, we'll discuss, you'll have some resources. I've included some development examples, and I would really suggest you look at them. There are four, they're not all the same. There are four that kind of take different approaches. But in terms of a topic idea, or how to structure it, or what we're expecting to see, these are really good examples. There will also be some other documents on there that we'll discuss as we keep going forward. Is anybody having a hard time finding the Twen page? Okay. So, the factors that we will use to determine who will make it onto law review through the write-on process are grades and the development writing component. And that's actually a really good thing because I think that there are some people who might think that, oh, I didn't have a stellar first semester or something like that, so maybe I don't have the credentials to get onto law review, and that's not the case. One, I think by this point, you'll have the full year.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll have the full year of your grades. But two, you don't have to be the best GPA in your class to be able to get on because we'll take into account your writing quality on the development, and that's actually a huge factor. It's really good, so it opens up law review to not just a grades game.
Can I add two more things?
Yeah, please.
So your legal methods and your legal research grades are double weighted in factoring you to get on, and that goes for 3Ls as well. Also, your grades are going, you're going to sign this grade release form where it says grade release form. So your grades will be completely anonymous. So you're submitting your grades, but we're not going to know what you got. So don't worry, it's going to be assigned to random things. So it's not like you're going to have to worry that like me and Rich or somebody are going to know all of your grades. So don't worry about that.
So this is the way it works. My role is to make sure that this process stays entirely anonymous to the editorial board, the executive board, who will make the decisions on who gets on the law review. So you'll send in your grade release forms. I'll have your grade and I'll have your writing development, but it'll all be through, I think, exam numbers. So I won't know who, like, the details. I'll just be able to compile those things and send them up to the board, who will have completely anonymous material to make their decisions. So the important thing is to remember that you can't have your name on any of this stuff, with the exception of like the grade release form. But I'm the only one who deals with the grades, and it's completely confidential. I will give you, so there will be a link on the Quen page to a document that has another link to the grade release form, and I've just got to get that. The one that Noah had is dead. So I'm just going to do that, and that'll be up there and ready to go shortly. And then remember again that your exam number is how this is going to be working. Get back into this. Okay, so getting started I think is kind of the hardest part, and that's what we want to do today, is help you get a sense of what this is and how you might start. For the record, you can start now. There is no beginning time other than right now, but the deadline is June 1st. So start thinking about what you want to write about. I think that's kind of the hardest part, is just determining a topic that is appropriate for the length of the paper. The idea with topic selection would be to find something going on in the like a legal issue, and to provide analysis and to kind of move that idea forward. So we discussed, one idea might be, do you want to talk about the symposium?
Yeah, so every year the Law Review has a symposium, which is an event where speakers come and give presentations, and then they submit law review articles on that topic afterwards. This year's topic is the opioid crisis. So if you're looking for an idea, if you really don't or not that passionate about any issue and you want to narrow your focus, you could write about the symposium topic, the opioid crisis. And so what you would do is you would look for like a statute, federal or state, that's working on the opioid crisis, do an analysis of the statute. You can also find court cases related to it, or just do some research and see what you might want to find.
Yeah. So that's just it. You can write on anything you want, but some common approaches, like Mike was alluding to, you like, remember there's sort of two things that you're doing. You're sort of picking the topic, maybe something like the opioid crisis, but you're also sort of choosing the context, right? In the context of statute or a court opinion or a circuit split. Other common approaches are doing like a comparative analysis of different approaches and identifying new trends that are happening in the legal community.
Right, so circuit split, probably not going to work for the opioid crisis.
Right.
But analysis of recent statute, comparative analysis of different approaches, identification of new trends, those would all work for the opioid
The
crisis.
point in choosing a topic is that, like, you can choose topics that are not just statutes and cases and things like that, although I think they make for easier papers. You can write on social issues, but that are, and it's kind of a soft way of saying it, but legal enough, right? You want to be making sure that you're bringing the law into your analysis. An example would be a current 3L now, Tyler Bugden wrote on the school to prison pipeline, which is not a statute or a case or anything like that, but it does have this sense of a legal issue, although it's a social issue too. Yeah, and the other thing is you're going to spend a lot of time on this paper, and some of you will, and this is actually a really good thing, some of you will be able to take your development and use it for your writing assignment that you'll have during your second year, which is a longer writing assignment. So you'll be able to take it and expand on it, and kind of gives you a head start. The reason I'm telling you this is because it's important that you choose something that you want to write about, or at least that you don't hate writing about. because you'll either spend a lot of time with it on the development, or even a ton of time on it with the note. Another important thing would be I had a busy summer, especially at the beginning of the summer. So I was really kind of nervous about when I would be able to start and when it would be due and how much time it would take. And I think it's different in terms of how much time it will take. It will be different for different people. But I think a rule of thumb would be it's like a week's worth of work. Wouldn't you say like?
Maybe two, maybe one to research and one to write.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Say that.
That's probably true. So I've been told anywhere between, imagine spending a full-time job's worth of work for a week or two. 40 hours, 60 hours, something like that. The point I'm trying to make is that this doesn't have to become your life every day, all day until it's due.
Yeah, somebody went to Europe for like 2 weeks and just put off their
real tool.
So
yeah,
must have been nice.
And a tip would be to keep a schedule for yourself, right? Like what Mike said was really important. A major component of this paper is not just the idea that you have, but it's the research it takes to develop the idea that you have. And that's something that if you have time to start doing now, I would suggest you start doing now. As you start researching and trying to find a topic, make sure to keep track of all of that stuff. One way I like to do it is if I'm on a website, instead of just grabbing the hyperlink, I'd like to print a PDF of the site and throw it in a folder so that it's something that's available to me that I just don't lose track of stuff. There are also ways to do that through Lexis and Westlaw. There are ways to save, and I suggest you do that. And then this is a tip for as you start writing. A lot of, myself included, I wound up, the day it was due, I spent probably 15 hours doing footnotes and was terrified that I wouldn't get it in on time. So my suggestion to you is to do your footnotes as you go. You'll find that the Blue Book is not the most user-friendly thing in the world, and it just takes time to get in and figure stuff out, and you don't want to put that off to the last minute.
And actually, this isn't on the slide, but I would encourage you, you're going to start working next year. You might want to consider buying the online version of the Blue Book.
Yeah.
I think it's like $40, but man, I really think it is so worth the money. And especially if you make it on, you're going to love it. And even in other, I use it at my job too, so it's not just law review related.
Yeah. And you can search it, right? Whereas with the book, you've got to go to the index, you've got to do something like that. You can just Control F essentially in the online Blue Book. So something to consider.
Is there a specific requirement in this assignment for footnotes, or what's the emphasis?
Yeah,
we're getting
let's
there.
talk about that. So
We'll explain it.
If it's still unclear, we can talk about it a little bit more.
I'll explain it really quick. So in academic legal writing, all of your footnotes will be, or all of your citations will be in footnotes. So whereas you guys remember your legal methods papers, you were writing your citations into the text. Instead of doing that, you'll put a footnote, it'll drop it to the bottom of the page, and that's where you'll put your citation.
So the way to think about it is every idea that is not your own needs a footnote that proves the idea. So let's go to the opioid crisis. If you say there is an opioid crisis in America, there better be a footnote with the name of a source, preferably an academic source, that I can go to and read a paragraph that confirms the fact that there is an opioid crisis in America.
Yeah.
So every idea that's not your own needs to have a footnote to support it.
So this is interesting too. I had never done any any academic writing before, and so it's true that when you quote something, you definitely need to have a footnote. But it's also true just when you are stating a fact and you need something to back that fact up. That's where you use your.
If you go and read the sample developments, you'll get a pretty clear idea. But you can also go and read old law review articles. There's a stack in that bookshelf on the 5th floor by the lockers of old Utah law reviews. Just flip through one of those and look at probably a more recent one and look at when they put cites, and you'll get an idea of when you need to put cites.
That's right. Okay. The other thing that we want to say too is while you're searching, you're beginning your research, you're trying to figure out what you want to write. Take advantage of professors and what they know and how they can help you narrow your topic. Yeah. Okay. So here are a bunch of resources. This is actually posted to the Twin page. So if you don't want to take notes, yes, you're welcome to, but you'll have this information on the Twin page. Here are some resources. Another one that's not on here that would be helpful. I think Bloomberg Law has a database of circuit splits. So just as a heads up, I found that helpful. This is what we're talking about with talking with professors. So what you say has to be something new. It's your own idea, it's your own paper. And so what you're avoiding is writing something that somebody else has already written. One, in terms of plagiarism, but also just having a new idea, right? That's something that is part of the grading process for the law review or for the development paper. So you'll start to figure out what's been written on your topic as you start doing research. And if you're unsure, which I think I certainly was, and most people probably were, how much was out there or what was out there or what the scope of your topic should be, discuss it with professors because they'll be able to say, that's cute that you have that idea, but that idea's been around for 30 years.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's not the simplest concept, but like preemption would be like, oh, I have this idea that we should give free needle exchanges to help everybody with the opioid crisis. Well, somebody already had that idea, therefore it's preemptive. So you
Right.
need to either find a totally different idea, or you could narrow it and you could say, these aspects of the needle exchange aren't working, how about we do these instead?
That's right. Or this is what there is so far. Look at this needle exchange idea. This also would help that idea, right? Like it's just that you're moving the ball forward. So the structure of the paper, and actually this will probably be a good. Maybe I should pull up an example. It's the structure will just keep it simple: introduction, background, analysis, conclusion. And I'm going to pull up an example just to give you an idea of what that looks like. I don't remember which one.
I really like 3.
Is it 3?
I really like
I think because there's one that I use mine. Yeah, this is the one.
So good.
So notice.
I think it's a clearer picture.
Okay. So notice that this person just kept it really simple. Introduction, history of fetal pain legislation. So this is background, right? And notice how we were talking about footnotes. This is how they'll be. Then when it gets to analysis, so science and fetal pain, actually I think this is still background. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So this is the analysis.
So this is the analysis section, right? So this is when the author of this paper started to put their idea down, right? It takes some time for a person who's not up to date on what the topic is you're writing to like get up to where you are, right? So the purpose of the background section would be to give the person who's reading it all of the information they need to understand your analysis.
Yeah, so this is a 10-page paper, right? So we see that the introduction is 1 paragraph, which mine was longer. And then the background goes from page 1 to page 7. And then from page 7 to page 10 is the argument with a very brief conclusion. And my conclusion was probably longer too.
Yeah.
But that is about roughly the allocation of how you want your intro, background, analysis, and conclusion.
Yeah, those aren't set rules, but that's just to give you an idea of what this paper should look like. The key point is the introduction should be very clear about what your thesis is. The background should help the reader understand everything the reader needs to understand your analysis, and then the conclusion can just be very brief and give your main point again. Let's go back. And there are other examples. That's one that I liked. I like the way that was formatted, and encourage you guys to take a look at those examples as you start. Okay, footnotes in particular. So like you were saying earlier, all propositions must be cited. Proposition, I mean, what's a good way to, what do we mean by proposition? Like, how, I can't think of a
Well,
way.
that's that one that there is an opioid crisis in America. That's a proposition.
Right, that's right.
Needle exchanges exist. That's a proposition.
Right. Basically, any background fact that needs support, right? Or anything needs support. All footnotes must conform to the blue book, and in legal methods, you were using the blue pages, and in the law review, we use primarily the white pages. So you'll find that the white pages make up most of the blue book. They have much more detailed rules. And those will be the rules that you'll follow when you cite for the development. We also have something specific to our law review. We call it the Green Book. And so it's just it's Utah Law Review specific formatting guidelines. Some of the things that they talk about there is the way we decide to cite case names, or the way we decide to use hyperlinks and things like that.
You want to just pull it up?
Yeah, I'll pull it. So here you'll see this is also important. If you are struggling, like trying to figure out the Blue Book, I think I would start with the Blue Book cheat sheet. It's going to have a lot of basic rules that are just helpful that you should be aware of. And then, like I was saying, the Green Book are specific rules. Just see. Okay, yeah. So like this is how we handle capitalization. You'll find like when you're speaking of the article itself that you're writing, like the paper you're writing, you would capitalize the word article, and they're just like sort of idiosyncratic rules that are important to follow. This will be part of the way your development is graded, whether it conforms to Blue Book standards and Green Book standards. So make sure you don't forget to read the Green Book. There's a couple like. Oh yeah, like this is a common one, like hyphens, N dashes, and M dashes. I don't know if you've ever thought about the difference between these things, but it matters on law review more than you'd expect. So give a look to what these things are, and you'll get graded on it. So I suggest if you want to be successful, you do. Let's go on. So here's the thing. I think the two most challenging things I experienced with the write-on was probably like topic selection, trying to find something that was a good topic for the scope of the assignment, which is actually relatively small, right? A 10-page paper you'll find. Once you put in your footnotes, you don't have a ton of room to convey your idea. So I had a hard time there, and then the next thing that I think I had a hard time with was just not feeling comfortable with citations. Often I think you'll find yourself trying to determine what this source is. Is this, should I cite this like a website? Should I cite this like a report? Should I cite this all these different ways that you'll see exist in the white pages of the Blue Book? And so right now I'm just here to say that you just do your best. Sometimes like doing footnotes and doing blue booking is sort of a stylistic choice, kind of like the way you use grammar in writing, right? Like sometimes footnote a journal will cite a certain source one way and another will cite it a different way. The point is that you do your best and remember that everyone's in the same boat. So I wouldn't stress out thinking, oh, everybody's going to figure this out except for me, because everyone's going to be pretty confused. But I think you'll all do a pretty good job if you just give it some time and try.
Which is not an excuse to not do your best.
That's right.
Because you think you're confused. Just do your best, but really put the work in.
Right. And it takes time. Like I was told to leave at least a day, I think, to do my footnotes. I would suggest maybe 2. Like I had a day to do my footnotes and I felt pressured. So anybody else have any thoughts on that? I feel like that's a
No, but I agree with what you said earlier. I would highly recommend doing your footnotes as you go, and then leave time at the end to check them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I would say I made the mistake. So we have the 4 examples for you guys to look at of developments, and they are great for structure, and they are great for just kind of topical ideas that you could get. But those have not been edited by anybody on law review. Those are the way that they were turned in when they were first turned in as a development. So you don't want to look at those for footnotes because they will have errors in them. Look at the Blue Book, look at our cheat sheet. Don't look at the examples for the footnotes.
That's right. I think that they're helpful in showing you where a footnote would go, but they're not like a reliable resource and if the footnote was done properly. Does that make sense? Okay. Anything else on that?
Oh, although I didn't know that, so that's good to know.
So general formatting is going to be 12-point Times New Roman font, 1 space after each sentence. I don't know where the 2 space after each sentence thing came from. Do people here do that?
It's from typewriters.
It's from typewriters, right? So I feel like, anyway.
I've had very strong feelings about that.
Yeah, that's right. So 1-inch margins, double space the text, but not the footnote text. So anything above the line, double space, below the line, single space. All citations go in footnotes. There shouldn't be any citations in the actual text above the line. You should number each page in the bottom center. And this is important because you will find yourself feeling like you can't quite get your idea out in 10 pages if you are like me or like many people, and you'll be thinking, what should I cut? And all that. It's really important you stay to 10 pages because you'll be penalized if you go, 10 pages or less, because you'll be penalized if you go over. And if you are under, say you write 8 pages, that's fine. You're not going to be penalized for that, but don't go over.
A question.
Yeah.
Are the footnotes included in that 10 page?
Yes. Which is why you'll find that it struggles. You'll struggle with the length because for some reason when you do footnotes, they'll often leave 2 inches of like white space above where the footnotes begin. This is a frustration of mine, but that is something that happens. So that's another good reason to do your footnotes as you go, so that when you finish, you won't realize, oh, I got to cut out 3 pages of my paper. You don't want to do that, the night it's due.
Do the footnotes have to be 12 font as well?
No, they're 10-point font.
Okay.
Maybe we should write that.
And there is a way to set the default in Word. I don't remember exactly how, but just know that it exists and Google that.
Yeah, that's right. There we go. Great. There you go. Thanks. Okay, so some of the rules and parameters of the write-on. It is anonymous, and what that means is that you are doing this on your own. You don't get to work with people. You can talk with professors about topic selection and choices and what you might write about in a paper, but the general rule of thumb is as you're picking and before you pick your topic, you can talk with them. After you begin writing, don't talk to anybody except for maybe me. I'll be your go-to. Don't talk to members of the board or any other people on law review that you know, because that's how we keep this fair. That's how we keep it anonymous. If, for example, I'm writing a paper on Tesla and Mike is writing a paper on a statute, and we're talking about it, and we go talk to somebody, and they blah blah blah, and it gets back to the editorial board, then they might have an idea of whose paper they're reading.
Yeah. And the reason we do this is to give everybody the fairest shot possible so that you are evaluated exclusively on your merits and your grades, obviously. But that way your writing is evaluated exclusively on its merits. There's no favoritism. There's no background knowledge of who you are or what your class rank is. It's one time where you're going to be totally evaluated independently and solely on your merits, and we want to give everybody that opportunity.
And it's really cool because, I know of friends of mine who are on law review with us who felt like they didn't have a stellar first year in terms of grades, but were able to write a really good article. And because we kept this, this process fair and anonymous, they're on law review and they get to be a part of that. And so it just is better off for everybody. No plagiarism, and I think we all know what that means. If the idea isn't yours, cite to the person whose idea it is. And if, the thing is, these rules are important. If for some reason we find out, the anonymity is broken or whatever, or something like that, we don't want to have to be in a boat where we have to enforce any type of disqualification in the competition. So don't
Literally in a boat. This is the look you'll get.
That's right. So I only say that just because it's important, but don't make us do that. Grading will be based roughly on these things. So topic choice, organization, whether we feel like the way you've organized your paper is a way that is best for the topic, analysis, and the originality of your idea, and whether just what you bring, how you move the ball forward. Your writing style, just is this good writing? Is it And I think this is another good reason to read those examples, and even if you want to, some law review articles, to kind of understand the tone of a law review academic article, because that's all this development is. It's just a smaller version of that.
Let me add a few things. So topic choice. This is not, if you pick a topic that we don't like, you're not going to be penalized. That's not what this is. This is to make sure that your idea wasn't preempted, and also to make sure that your topic is legal enough to be for a legal journal. And then writing style is, also sounds a little subjective, but it's your grammar, spelling, and your tone. Is it a professional tone, not a colloquial tone? Is this something that you would be, you would open up to a law review? Does your tone match that format? Not is it unprofessional?
Rule compliance, like what we just spoke about. Oh, do you have another
I
thought?
have one more thought too. So as far as analysis goes as well, this is something that I think is really important. We are not grading you on how hot your take is. We're just grading you to see if you can do this exercise of a legal analysis. So if you are halfway through your research and you're like, I don't love the way this is going, or like, I'm not sure that I have the best idea in the world, it's okay. You're gonna mostly be graded on the mechanics and how well you could execute this. So if you don't think you have the best analysis, or you're uncertain or insecure about it, that's a totally normal feeling. Just get your project done and don't worry too much about that.
That's right. Give it your best shot. I actually went back and looked at my development, and I'm pretty confident that my idea was probably not legally sound, but like I presented it like well enough, and I thought I was right, and I did my best, and it worked out.
That's another reason why the analysis sections are so short. You saw that one that was only 3 pages, maybe 2.5 pages. So you really don't need the hottest take in the world. You just need to do this exercise.
That's right. Rule compliance, again, we're speaking to anonymity, we're speaking to, so like, let me be clear what that means. You can't talk to each other about this assignment. You can't talk to each other about how to do footnotes. You can't talk to each other about your topics, what you've chosen to write on. I mean, generally speaking, if you're thinking to yourself, I'm about to talk to friend over here about my write-on project, don't.
You also can't talk to other lawyers. You can't talk to your mom and dad. You can't talk to your older or younger brother. You can tell your dog, but even that I think is a little...
The point is, I mean, if it sounds draconian, the point is just we're trying to get a product that reflects your ability to contribute to the law review. And then blue booking. And I think we're going to determine the weight that all of these will be given, and we'll put that up for you guys once we come to that conclusion. I think. I think
There will be a rubric that you can look at.
Right. For us, blue booking was actually a really important part. And a large part of the grade. So don't neglect your footnotes. It'll be a substantial portion of the grade.
In fact, it was the biggest portion.
I think it was like 35 points
Yeah.
out of 100
Yeah.
compared to the others. So, how to submit? So when you're done and you get that warm fuzzy feeling, you go to Twend, and you. So this is important. So you upload it on Twend. In the Twend assignments, there are two different assignments. One for Rising 3Ls. And one for Rising 2Ls. So make sure you submit in the place that you fit.
Should we just show them?
We can show you. So, Rising 2Ls, Rising 3Ls, never the twain shall meet. I've always wanted to say that. But honestly, don't make that confusing. Really do this right.
Also, scrubbing metadata. This is something that like I didn't know before we got involved in this, but like you have to like. There's like a secret way we can tell whose it is in Word. It's really weird. Do you even remember how to get to it? Oh yeah, I know how you get to it. Right? Property.
This is actually a headache. Don't let this be a problem for you when you're turning it in.
We're going to make some very detailed instructions on this because I actually don't know that I can remember how to do it.
I think it's under
You go to options,
Review.
file options.
Oh, file options? Or review?
It's under.
I don't know. I remember
Where is it?
the instructions I got were not entirely helpful, and I had to figure it out on my own. But this is a moment to talk about the due date. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm going to turn this in, oh crap, I need to scrub my metadata, have this worked out already, because it took me an embarrassing amount of time to get this done, and I really could have caused a problem with me turning it in on time. And there are no exceptions. So if you have a technical issue, if for some reason Twin crashes and the internet goes down and all whatever, like that's bad luck. So don't let that be you. Don't wait until 11:59 to turn this thing in. You should be turning it in a way that's comfortable to not have any stupid life things come up to get in the way of turning it in.
Okay, I'll put a scrub metadata instructions in the twin folder because it's very confusing.
Yeah. When you turn it in, pay attention to this format because this is part of the anonymity of it all. The correct format will be dev for development _ and then your spring exam number. And then you'll turn that into it. And so again, to reiterate, June 1st, 11:59 p.m. No exceptions, even technical problems, and that just don't let that happen. Okay, Rising 3L information. So there's a little bit more information for those of you who are Rising 3Ls who want to participate. So to be clear, Rising 3Ls will become senior staff. The write-on competition, if you've heard that it was different for Rising 3Ls last year, it won't be this year. So the write-on competition is the same as the Rising 2Ls. There was a different length requirement, I think.
Yeah.
That won't be the case. Just write the same 10-page development with all the same requirements. So the reason why we've separated these submission links is because Rising 3Ls will be considered separately from Rising 2Ls. The senior staff, and we just heard some like commentary about this. Senior staff will be required to write the 8,000 word note that all. Oh, sorry, I wasn't sure if you were. Senior, so 2Ls will be writing this note as well. It's just like the development, but longer, and you'll be doing it in the fall of your 2L year.
But this will fulfill a writing requirement, and it is important for you to get credit for law review.
Yeah.
That is academic credit.
That's it. So also with Rising 3Ls, in addition to the copywork and poll work responsibilities that the 2Ls will have, senior staff may also have additional editorial duties as needed.
And so let me explain that. It will be in addition, but it won't be more work than the junior staff. It will just be different work than the junior staff, which is hopefully a little more involved and a little more exciting than what the junior staff are doing.
Sorry, guys.
It's exciting by law review standards.
Yeah, right.
Which is the world of
When
the
you're-
difference between a hyphen, an en dash, and an em dash. So
That's right. Again, I am the point of contact. So over the summer, I'll be around. I'll be working, of course, but if you email me during the day, I'll get to you as quickly as I can to answer your questions. But I may be busy, right, until 5. I'll do my best to respond as I can. After 5, I'm all yours. I'll be answering your questions. I suspect that most of you will start sending me a lot of questions a week or 2 before the due date. That's fine. Just know that the more questions I get, the longer it's going to take me to respond. And so I would suggest getting your questions in early if you can, and then I ask for your patience as I get back to you. But I'll be quick. Also, I think you should know, so our guy, our me for our write-on process, he was really good, and I appreciated this about trying not to give too much information, to give fair information, right? Like, so if you email me and think that I'm going to be able to give you some clue into what rule you should be using in the Blue Book, I'm going to make sure that I don't give any more information to one person than another in order to make sure that there's no way to game the purpose of the write-on, which is to show us what you can do. Again, if I'm getting emails the day it's due, I'll be responding the best I can, but definitely think to yourself, if I want my email answered quickly, or if I want to solve this problem in the time that I have, get it to me quickly.
okay, and one more thing. You're going to submit this on June 1st. We are going to make sure we have an offer out for you to join the law review if you've been accepted. That should come in time for the junior staff to do 2L OCIs,
Yeah.
to do fall OCIs. So
Yeah.
it'll be
midsummer,
Yeah, midsummer.
July-ish. Like probably the first 2 weeks of July-ish. Maybe the second week of July. Anyway, we're that's around the time.
And another thing too, once you submit these, they'll be read by our note and comment editors, so they won't be laboriously poured over by just the people in this room. They'll be evaluated by independent note and comment editors, and then they'll go to the executive board.
That's right, and I think that each note and comment editor will read each development.
Yeah.
And that's really good so that you don't get the short end of the stick with somebody who was like tired.
So if you're like, what's taking so long? It's because it's being read 5 times by 5 different people.
And frankly, I mean, you should. I hated this, but the thing is, I didn't need to, right? Like I worry a lot, and that's something that like most people who know me know. But I wish I would have worried less. I mean, fun is a stretch, but it was interesting, right? Like it was interesting to get in and learn something new. And like I can't tell you, I wrote on the Tesla dealership case from the Utah Supreme Court. And I learned a lot about that. I learned about why Tesla had a hard time here. And I think that like I've bored my friends 4 or 5 times at dinners with them. Somebody will bring up Tesla and I'll say, oh, I wrote a paper on that. And they'll say, what do you think? And I'll say, I think it was wrong, but it was this. And I should have enjoyed it more than I should. And I shouldn't have stressed. So start early. And I think it'll be a cool introduction to legal academia.
Any questions?
Can I?
Yes.
Oh, I was gonna say something that somebody did one year. As soon as he submitted it, he posted it on his Facebook page because he thought relatives and friends would want to read it. Don't do that.
Yeah, actually, that's a good
problem.
point. I should clarify. I spoke to my friends once the competition was done because of the anonymity rules. You had a question.
Oh yeah, I was just wondering how many people you take.
Well, we're going to leave some discretion with that. In the past, they've taken as many as 35 people. I think our year we ended up with 28, so somewhere between there. But we're not going to put a hard number on it because we'd like to accept as many people as we feel we have space for.
Yeah. Question.
Is your intake with rising 2Ls and rising 3Ls different?
Yes, it will be very different. We will take fewer rising 3Ls and far more rising 2Ls.
So the reasoning behind that is because the rising 2Ls, you will, while you're in your 2L year, you will do this, right? You'll help the next class come up. And it's important that you have enough people to be able to manage all the responsibilities that you'll have as 3Ls. So that's why we're making sure that you'll have enough people to do that. Any more questions? All right.
Save your questions and email them all to Rich so he has to answer them on his own time. That's a good idea.
Remember that the stuff is on Twin. There'll be some more stuff, and we'll notify you when the grade release form comes up.
Done.
59 days.
Going all right.